order. Please join with me in the council prayer. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Councilor Martin. Councilor Mendonça.
Here.
Councilor Mercia.
Here.
Mayor Milanazzo.
Here.
Councilor Murphy.
Here.
Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Councilor Caulfield.
Here.
Councilor Dakota.
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm requesting a moment of silence with darkened chambers for firefighter Michael LaFerrier, a loving and devoted husband, father, and friend. Mr. LaFerrier was a member of the Lowell Fire Department, well respected by his fellow firefighters, and was very helpful to the youth who resided in the housing adjacent to the JFK Civic Center. Also, a moment of silence for Leo David Mahoney, a loving and devoted husband, father, grandfather, veteran of the Korean War, a very successful businessman in the state and Greater Lowell. Mr. Mahoney also used his success in business to help many charities and never wanted any recognition. No one knows how much Mr. Mahoney donated to help churches, schools, and people in need. May both these men rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Caulfield. Please rise in a moment of silence in darkened chambers. May they rest in peace. Thank you. The first item on the agenda is to accept the minutes of the May 25th meeting as well as a special meeting of June 1st.
Yes, so moved.
Motion by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Elliott. All those in favor of accepting the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, it's a vote. First item under unfinished business, we have a vote in City Council accepting Chapter 235 of the Acts of 1994, which authorizes a firefighter or police officer whose employment was terminated due to the reduction in force and subsequently reinstated to their former position to be credited with active service for such period of employment, subject to certain limitations. If you recall, we had a public hearing on this, and it was referred to the city clerk's office for 7 days. What's the wish of the council?
Move approval.
Move approval by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Mendonça. Any questions? Roll call.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Milanazzo.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Dakota.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. Under the city manager's portion of the agenda, communication from city manager, responses to council motions.
Yes.
Vote, City Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, we did get a response from Councilor Mendonca's motion regarding a report on city vehicles that go home, and it was very interesting. But I had a question, and I'm sorry that the chief isn't here, because the police chief, because it says that the K-9 officers have 4 vehicles, and I didn't know we had 4 dogs. How do we have 4 K-9 vehicles, 4 vehicles?
I think the chief may be outside. If someone could add.
I was just wondering, I thought we had only 1 or 2 police dogs. I didn't know we needed 4 vehicles.
I believe we have more than that right now, Councilor. We have the Bloodhound as well as the other canines, the other dogs that we brought on. But I'll get you that answer. We'll get to that answer.
I don't have a problem. I just thought that if we had 2 dogs, we had 1 police K-9 officer. Wouldn't he put them together, or why do we need 4 vehicles? Do we have 4 dogs? I
Well,
don't know.
you wouldn't put them together. They wouldn't all travel together. They would travel
Well, you wouldn't
separately.
need 4 vehicles at one time, would you?
Each K-9 officer would have a
How
separate
many
vehicle.
K-9 officers do we have? I thought we had
I'm
one.
going to double check on that for you.
Well, we'll wait. We can wait. Maybe to the budget
We
hearing.
can do it in the budget.
Thank you.
That's fine, thank you.
Counselor Elliott?
I just had a follow-up question, and we have scaled back the number of vehicles. I want to say significantly from a number of years ago. Was it up close to 100, Mr. Manager,
I don't think
or
it
was
was-
it just a little bit less?
I think it was less than that. We cut it back by about 20%.
20%, which is a marked improvement. Could you also provide us with a cost of gasoline and maintenances? I know the city's self-insured and maybe, accidents or things. So just a general cost on what it is.
Sure.
Maybe not per vehicle, but just in general. I think that'll be helpful to show that we are working to reduce those costs.
We'll work on getting that report
All
for
right,
you,
thank you.
Council.
Councilor Caulfield and Councilman Mendoza.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council received a communication from T.J. McCarthy about the levee repair update, and it's good news, really. And what's really great news, we anticipated a cost of approximately $7 million for that, Mr. Manager?
I think the levy was less than that, but it was I think it was about $5 million to do the levy.
Well, it says here between $400,000 and $600,000.
It's a substantial, right?
I guess so. So that bond,
We haven't. I don't believe we have not borrowed that yet.
we haven't borrowed it.
Right.
So you can make that a huge reduction right there on that levy cost.
That's correct.
Okay. And just
I'd have to go back and check the cost estimates that we had at that time. Ms. DeMayo is here. Maybe she has that exact number.
The $7 million estimate was for 3 pieces of work. That included rebuilding the pump station out in the highway. That was the whole $7 million. The $600,000 is to do another piece of it. So the $600,000 is a subset of the $7 million. That's just to work on the levee, the eye wall up along Beaver Brook coming down to the river.
So this,
Mr. Mayo, I believe the cost for the pump station was $5 million alone, and the levy was $7 million.
No, the $7 million for the whole thing, because the 3 pieces were the brush and clearing the vegetation along the Lakeview Avenue down along the VFW highway, which that's been done and will now be done every year. Annually, will be some cleanup, so we won't have to do as much. But the 3 pieces were clearing the vegetation, addressing the seepage along the eye wall and the levee up near Beaver Brook, and then the 3rd piece was the rebuilding the pump station, and the 3 combined was estimated to be $7 million.
Okay, then we can reduce that bond drastically, can't we?
well, it's not drastically, as Ms. DeMayo pointed out. The pump station is still roughly $5 million.
Right.
The other component is several $100,000, and then this is we can probably not borrow that full amount that we anticipated. Correct.
Okay, well, I do remember, sometimes I can't remember what I have for breakfast, but I do remember this, that the bond was debated
Yes.
at length, and the big debate was the pump station.
Correct.
Was $5 million.
Right.
The levy was $7 million.
I don't believe that's.
Well, if you can
We'll
finish-
dig up our.
Would you please?
We'll see if we can dig up a prior report on that.
And the last thing, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, I support you wholeheartedly on the new roof at the Rogers School. It's the way you want to go. I support it immensely. It's the most economic way to do it. It's been done that way for years, and that's, I think, the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Mendoza?
Yes, thank you for responses to 3 of my motions. One Councilor Mercer already referred to, which is the take-home vehicles, and looking at that, I mean, I can understand that some of them would be necessary. Actually, the K-9 ones were ones that I thought, in order to transport the K-9s, you need the vehicle that's set up to do that, and they probably go home with the officer for taking care of it. But there's still a significant number of vehicles that I think maybe could be considered in reducing the usage. I'm hoping that we have enough staffing that they don't need to be called in that often, but that's something that the city manager should evaluate as to how much use is there really of that vehicle. The other thing that concerned me was the vehicle use policy and the fact that it's still being reviewed. I'm hoping that that won't take too much longer and that the manager will let us know when that's approved for use, and we can have everyone working to that policy. I also got the update on the Lowell High facilities. Seems like there's a lot of work being done. What stood out to me was the activity of the Lowell High School LTC program. They seem to be doing a lot to improve the facilities out there, and the landscaping and some scraping and painting of boards where it's appropriate. I see that trailer has been removed that was beyond its lifetime probably. I'm not sure if there's any, from this report, if there's any facilities that provided that are going to be replaced in some way, or if there's any lack of facilities because of it being gone. I don't know if don't have anything.
The trailer?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that served no use, no purpose for us. It used to be the ticket booth for the spinners years ago, and it just was used for some storage, but we've found alternatives.
Okay, so they have dugouts and other facilities that are working just fine for them. Right, and the last was the report on Central Street in the Cobblestone area that actually you gave some estimates of $80,000 and $215,000 to repair an additional 2 of the squares to get it back in shape, which I thought was not unreasonable as an estimate, and maybe at some point in the future we can see there's some grant funds, or if there's some surplus funds to do that, I think would be certainly worthwhile. So I appreciate getting all 3 reports.
Thank you. Councilor Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's a couple of reports here. One is about the work that's being done on Moore and Andrew Street in connection with the CSO program. Moore Street is pretty busy street. I used to live there, so I had some experience there. So I'm sure by now people in the neighborhood are aware, but the street's scheduled to close to traffic between certain places most of the summer, at least most of June and July, starting this week. So my question was going to be, did we work with the neighborhood group? I'm sure we did, but it's what did we do with contacting individual residents? I mean, at least the discussion will let people know that don't know already that this is about to happen if they're not aware already.
I'll ask Ms. DeMayo, who's been coordinating this with us.
It's not the CSO project, it's the water main replacement. So still, to the residents, it's construction in the street, and they don't always care.
Right.
We did have the contractor work to put together a traffic management plan, which includes a map of the neighborhood, the signage that he's going to put up on each and every street, and what it says on each and every sign. We helped him write a notice that was supposed to be put in all of the newspapers. We had him work with Donna McIntosh in the manager's office to make sure that it went to all the places, when she sends a press release, that it went to all of those places. The neighborhood groups were notified. They were supposed to be talking to local businesses so that they could let their deliveries know that they might need to come up with an alternate route for the time being. The contractor, as he's doing his work, is trying very hard to not block off traffic, but there are times when the main happens to meander a little to the middle of the roadway, and at that point, it's not possible. The police felt it wasn't safe at all to have one lane of traffic, and at those points, they implement the traffic management plan.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And if I could, on another point, there was a report here about what you need to do to get a permit for a special event. It's pretty comprehensive. Just want to make sure that gets on the website. I think that's a good resource. If it's not there already, I think would answer a lot of questions people might have about some of these events.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott?
Could I just follow up on that Moore Street closing? Did you say, Mr. Mayor, sometimes the road is going to be closed and sometimes it isn't? And we've met with the neighborhood organization and they're on board, because that's going to be a major inconvenience for quite some time. It's more like 6 weeks in the middle of the summer, but it
is going to be a major inconvenience for quite some time, that's why we had them create the entire traffic management plan up front before they even knew whether or not they were going to need it. to institute, if they were going to start their construction and now all of a sudden find out they needed it, they need to be, the notification process has to go on for 7 days before they can start their work. So they've already started it, and the notice did say periodic closures. So that this way, if they ran into a situation where the police felt it wasn't safe, they didn't have to shut down and wait 7 days before they could start up again. So the notice was intended to explain that.
Okay, so it won't be 6 weeks from starting, the start date till the end. It's just notification in the event that there will be closing. Okay, that makes sense. And if we had to do it, we'd have to do it. I understand it for the sake of safety, but there's really no easy way to get into that section. And I'm thinking all the trucks, where they're going to that industrial neighborhood. So I'm sure you got it covered, but at least, thank you.
Thank you. Council Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to, give a large thank you to Karen and Woodward, who's doing this work. The water utility, what they're doing is removing all the scale that's in the water pipes and inserting a new liner in those water pipes. And some of the water pipes are really, really clogged up immensely. And when they're finished, everyone's going to have better pressure. And this liner is going to last forever. So the inconvenience people are looking at right now is going to be well worth it down the road. So,
thank you. Councilor Murphy, then Councilor Mendonça.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just returning to the point about the events permitting, in making the motion, I had seen the information on the website prior to that meeting. I think it's now front page on the website, so people can find it easier. But I did have just a few questions on that. Really, for people to get a better expectation of how much it would cost somebody to run an event, I think you would need not just the prices of per hour and that sort of thing for police officers, say, as an example, but also how many officers would be required for how many hours and that sort of thing, so that you have a much better idea of what it's going to cost down the road. In the second part is making sure that at the end of the process, all the people who are applying for events permits are able to also get detailed invoices, so that there's actually some way not only just to have some kind of transparency in the process, but also in having to report to third parties on their own financial information. I think it would be important for people to have. And just, thirdly, a question, is it the plan really to work as you have done with the reorganization of the building and inspectional services, to have people be able to go just to one place in the Department of Planning and Development, so that you're not being bounced around to different buildings?
I think that I agree, Council, I agree completely about the invoice. I think that there should be a detailed invoice that spells out exactly what has been paid for, with some detail. The issue of the estimate up front, it's sometimes hard, particularly for police. It depends upon the size of the crowd, depends upon what event is actually taking place, whether there may be a need for an additional officer, or so that varies. But we can look for ways to improve that, so that people know up front what it's going to cost. In terms of the one-stop shopping, if you will, I do think that's something we should move towards, and certainly it was the intent when we set up the special events, Cultural Affairs and Special Events Office, that would be an area that we could do that. Of course, the parks are under a separate jurisdiction with the Park Commission, but let us do some work on that, because I do think it would be easier if people could just go to one location, know exactly what they needed to get, and have it all done at that place rather than being bounced around. So we'll do some work on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Mendonça, then Councilor Dakota.
Just back to the Moore Street closure. if there are detour maps available that could be put up on the website, or maybe provided to the council, just in case we get calls to help out with that. Thank you.
We can do that, Councilor.
Thank you. Councilor Dakota?
Thank you very much. I actually would like to go back to the event permitting document also. As you're planning it, I think it would be helpful that they all look the same. There are 12 pages here, and they're obviously developed by separate departments. Also, in terms of not knowing how much it's going to cost because of the number of people or the different options, there should still be able to be a range so that the person or the organization can budget for that and understand that they're being charged the same amount as other organizers. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else while we're under communications? Chair would like to recognize Manager Lynch.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, we do have another communication for the council in response to a motion, but it involves matters of litigation. So at this time, I would ask that the council meet in executive session to receive an update from the city solicitor on that litigation and discuss that in more detail, because the discussion of it in public session, open session, would have a detrimental impact on the bargaining position of the city.
So we would need, Council Martin.
There is a public hearing scheduled for 7 o'clock, right?
Correct.
I mean, can we just see if anybody here in the audience here to speak on that? I mean, I'm anticipating if we're gone for a fair amount of
Is anyone
time.
here wishing to speak in the public hearing regarding the roof at the Rogers School? Mr. Goldman.
Go ahead.
He's going to be here, though, right? He's going to be here for...
Still not going to go anywhere. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
On that public hearing, prior to the meeting, Councilor Murphy asked me some questions that we are trying to get some additional information on. If the council would like, we can recess the public hearing and take that up at to give me an opportunity to get additional information, but I'll leave that to Councilor.
Like I said, yeah, there were a number of questions I had about this, and I think it'd be probably a long discussion, but there are some questions that I'm sure you don't have the answers for right now. Part of it centered around, dividing that up between what is absolutely necessary to replace there and the other level of the roof, which is listed as fair condition.
Right.
And so if we could make a motion to delay until the next meeting.
Okay. Well, what I need to do is open it since it's been advertised for tonight, and then we can move under your motion to delay it for a week. So it being, Mr. Manager?
And if I might suggest, it may be advisable to have a subcommittee meeting with and I'm not sure which subcommittee applies to, maybe Finance and Environmental, I think we talked about before, prior to the next meeting, maybe for just a brief meeting. I'm not sure if that would...
Okay. What I'd like to do then is read the loan order.
We don't know? Okay.
Rogers School roof to borrow $1,360,000 to remove and dispose of the existing damaged roof in the Rogers School and to replace it with the new asphalt-based roof and to perform any ancillary work necessary to install the new roof. Motion by Councilor Murphy, seconded by Councilor Elliott, that we recess the public hearing until such time as we get the information from the administration. Councilor Elliott.
Were we going to refer this?
I think we can probably just bring the information in at that time for the
Okay.
meeting, if that might be easier with scheduling.
Sounds good.
Okay. All those in favor? Councilor Broderick?
There's no pressing time issue on this?
No, because this is having it be the Rogers School. We can. It's not a regular school building that we need to get the work done during the summer season. We need to get it done quickly, but there isn't a 2-week delay will not harm us.
I thought we were missing pieces of the roof. And
It's all being held down.
Okay.
Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Without violating the public hearing, the cost to go another route, to put a different type of roof, Mr. Manager, how much is difference in the cost?
To go a different in terms of a rubber roof.
No, money fact. If we go with the asphalt roof and go with a green roof, isn't the cost astronomical?
To go a straight green roof, it's going to cost additional sum of money, but it's going to have a longer life. So there were issues regarding that, but I think we've spoken to that in the memo. There are some other issues, though, regarding some of the other activities that we intend to take place on that roof, with working with Amoresco on a solar option. It's a very good, we believe it to be a very good solar location. There are also some other opportunities to deal with the runoff that we need to get some additional information on.
Mr. Manager, I'm reading your communication. Given the high added cost, 85% more of installing such a roof, 85% more.
Right.
You know, we don't have money trees growing out in the courtyard.
Right, but you get additional life out of it. It lasts longer.
If I could interject here, we do have a motion on the floor to recess for 2 weeks, so, okay, it has been made, it's been seconded. All those in favor of recessing the public hearing for 2 weeks signify by saying aye. Opposed, to vote. Thank you. I do have an order that we move to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing ongoing litigation, public discussion of which would have a detrimental effect on the city's position, and further move to reconvene in open session at the close of the executive session. Motion by Councilman Mendonça, second by Councilor Mercia. Roll call.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça?
Yes.
Councilor Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Milanazzo?
Yes.
Councilor Murphy?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Dakota?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Council stands in executive session.
Sorry. Hey, Rick, so we go back to the budget.
think Rodney was.
My motion, someone wants to speak on my,
I'd like to call the council meeting back into regular session. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Martin. Councilor Mendonça. Councilor Mercia. Mayor Milonazo.
Here.
Councilor Murphy.
Here.
Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Dakota. Councilor Elliott. 6 present.
Council Caulfield is here.
Yep, okay. 7 present, 2 absent.
Continuing on with the agenda, we left off with the communication from the city manager, responses to council motions and requests. Motion to accept the communications placed on file by Council Mercia, seconded by Council Martin. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed, is a vote. Next item, in city council vote, authorizing the city manager to apply for, accept, and expend an assistance to firefighters apparatus grant offered through the Department of Homeland Security in the amount of $132,000 for the City of Lowell Fire Department. Whereas the Department of Homeland Security has grant funds available under its Assistance to Firefighters Apparatus Grant Program in the amount of $132,000, and whereas the City of Lowell is desirous of applying for and accepting and expending said grant funds offered from the Department of Homeland Security, and whereas the grant will make available to the city the sum of $132,000 to allow the Lowell Fire Department purchase turnout gear for its 75 of its members, whereas this grant application is a grant program with a required city match in the amount of approximately $26,400, which represents 20%. Now therefore be it voted by the City Council of the City of Lowell that the city manager be and is hereby authorized to apply for, accept, and expend funds from the Department of Homeland Security under its Assistance to Firefighters Apparatus Grant in the amount of $132,000 for the City of Lowell Fire Department. Second reading by title, in city council vote, authorizing the city manager to apply for, accept, and expend an assistance to firefighters apparatus grant offered through the Department of Homeland Security in the amount of $132,000 for the City of Lowell Fire Department. What's the wish of the council?
move approval.
Approval by Council Martin, second by Council Mendonça. Roll call.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Dakota.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott, 8 yeas, 1 absent.
Thank you. Vote in City Council order for the replacement of 14 additional boards at LaLasha Park ordered by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows. That the sum of $7,000 be transferred from LaLasha Park Future Renovation Fund number 1740 to Capital Improvements Baseball Stadium Fund number 5400. Order recommended and introduced by Bernard F. Lynch, City Manager. Second reading by title. Vote in City Council order for the replacement of 14 additional boards at LaLasha Park ordered by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows, that the amount of $7,000 be transferred. What's the wish of the council? Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Additional boards. These boards are the boards that support the wall, and it's not advertising boards, is it?
It's boards on the outfield wall that will be used for advertising as they have been. It's just replacing boards that are there now
That need replacing?
That need replacing.
So we're not like expanding
No,
for more advertising?
no.
And it's coming out of the renovation funds that
That's-
we put aside?
That's correct.
Councilor Mercia.
I swear to God, this is the most expensive wood in the history that I've ever heard in my life. This is very expensive wood. I've never seen it. Where are they getting this from? Rome? Jeez.
What's the wish of the council?
Move approval.
Move approval by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Dakota. Roll call.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
How do you say yes in Rome? Roman. Yes.
C.
See?
Mercia. Mayor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Dakota.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott, 8 yeas, 1 absent.
Next item, in City Council vote, declaring surplus property located at 78 Perry Street, Lowell, Mass., and authorizing the city manager to seek proposals under the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30B for the disposition of said parcel, namely 78 Perry Street. Whereas the City of Lowell is the owner of the property at 78 Perry Street, having acquired title thereof by tax title foreclosure on May 4, 2009, recorded at Middlesex North Registry of Deeds in Book 22972, page 16, and whereas by letter dated June 3, 2010, the city manager has recommended that the city council authorize the Department of Planning and Development to seek a proposal for purchase and to include therein a minimum proposal of $45,750. Now therefore be it voted by a 2/3 vote that City of Lowell property at 78 Perry Street, total lot area of 2,000 square feet plus or minus, is hereby declared surplus property and not presently needed for municipal purposes. The city manager, acting through the Department of Planning and Development, is hereby authorized to proceed with the disposition of said property under the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30B, and to include therein a minimum proposal price of $45,750, and to also include required notification to all abutters pursuant to the Code of the City of Lowell, Section 60-2. Be it further voted that the request for proposal shall contain such other terms, restrictions, and conditions as the city manager deems are in the best interest of the City of Lowell. Second reading by title. In City Council vote, declaring surplus property located at 78 Perry Street, Lowell, Mass., and authorizing the city manager to seek proposals under the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30B, for the disposition of said parcel, namely 78 Perry Street, Lowell. Move approval by Councilor Mendoza, second by Councilor Martin. Roll call.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Mendoza?
Yes.
Councilor Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Murphy?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Dakota?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott, 8 yeas, 1 absent.
Next item, in City Council vote, approving the exemption of Margaret Kennedy from the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 268A, Section 20. Whereas Margaret Kennedy is employed by the City of Lowell School Department as a long-term per diem substitute teacher, and whereas Margaret Kennedy desires to accept a position with the Career Center of Lowell, Division of the City Manager's Office as a summer coordinator, and whereas in order to be employed in a second position with the City of Lowell, an exemption from the provisions of Section 20 of Chapter 268A is required, and whereas in order to qualify for such exemption, an employee must satisfy all of the conditions under said Chapter 268A, Section 20B, and whereas the position of summer coordinator with the Career Center of Lowell, Division of the City Manager's Office, is with a completely independent department, and whereas Margaret Kennedy filed a statement disclosing the second job with the city clerk, and whereas the second job will be performed outside the normal working hours of the first position, and whereas the services to be performed in the Career Center of Lowell Division of City Manager's Office as a summer coordinator are not part of Margaret Kennedy's duties in her primary job as a long-term per diem substitute teacher for the school department for the City of Lowell, and whereas Margaret Kennedy will not be compensated in the second position for more than 500 hours per year, and whereas the Assistant Director of the Career Center has certified that no employee of that department is available to perform the duties for the second job of summer coordinator for the Career Center of Lowell Division of the City Manager's Office, now therefore be it voted by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows, that the City Council of the City of Lowell hereby approves the exemption of Margaret Kennedy from the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 268A, Section 20. Second reading by title. In City Council vote, approving the exemption of Margaret Kennedy from the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 268A, Section 20. The wish of the council.
Move
Move
approval.
approval by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Dakota. Councilor Caulfield.
Just one question, Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager. Where is this money going to come from, the demolition of these buildings?
We're not there yet.
Not there yet.
Not there yet?
No.
Okay.
Roll call.
Councilor Martin? Councilor Mendoza?
Yes.
Councilor Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Murphy?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Dakota?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott, 7 yeas, 2 absent.
The next item in City Council vote, authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to notify the owners of a certain property that a public hearing will be held pursuant to the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 139. Whereas the City Council of the City of Lowell desires to hold a public hearing for the purpose of determining if certain properties located in said city are a nuisance to the neighborhood or dangerous, and to determine what disposition, if any, may be prescribed. Now therefore be it voted by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows: that the owners of the properties be notified that a public hearing will be held by the City Council under the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 139, Section 1, on July 13th, 2010, at 7 p.m. in the City Council chambers of City Hall, 220 Baldwin Street, 129 Llewellyn Street, 51 Payne Street, 106 Congress Street, 11 South Whipple Street, rear building. The purpose of the hearing is to determine if the buildings, structures, or parcels of land involved are a nuisance to the neighborhood or dangerous, and what disposition, order, or regulation shall be prescribed by the Lowell City Council, if any. Refer to a public hearing, July 13th, by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Murphy. All those in favor of sending this to a public hearing signify by saying aye. Opposed, to vote. Next item, in City Council vote, authorizing the continuation during fiscal year 2011 of the 6 revolving funds listed below in this vote. Whereas by City Council vote on the dates shown below, revolving funds were established pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half as follows. Department of Public Works, name and purpose of revolving fund, demo of abandoned buildings. Date of council vote, establishing revolving fund, August 22nd, 1992. Maximum amounts, $120,000, maximum expenditure. Police Department, Traffic Enforcement, October 26, 1993, fund receipts not to exceed 50% of motor vehicle fines. Department of Public Works, Landfill, September 27, 1994, $15,000 maximum expenditure. Police Department, Positive Ticketing, June 9, 2009, $25,000 maximum amount. Department Planning and Development, Property Maintenance, June 24, 2008, $500,000. City Auditor, Vacant and Foreclosing Property, November 4, 2008, $50,000. Whereas, as provided in said law, each year since the creation of said revolving funds and prior to the commencement of each fiscal year, the City Council has voted to continue said revolving funds for the ensuing fiscal year. Whereas it is desirable to continue said revolving funds during fiscal year 2011, and whereas the city manager has recommended the continuation of said revolving funds for fiscal year 2011, now therefore it is voted that the City Council of the City of Lowell, in accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, as amended, hereby authorizes the continuation during fiscal year 2011 of the following listed revolving funds for the receipt and expenditure of funds for the purpose as set forth in original City Council vote as amended, which established said revolving fund. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Martin, second by Councilor Caulfield. All those in favor of waiving the full reading signify by saying aye. Opposed, to vote. Second reading by title. In City Council vote, authorizing the continuation during fiscal year 2011 of the 6 revolving funds listed below in this vote. What's the wish of the council? Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, I know that these 6 entities in the revolving fund, it's like a matter of housekeeping, and we do this every year. But I'm concerned about the first one that says DPW demolition of abandoned buildings, and there's $120,000 that we appropriate and keep in there. Do we not? What is that
No, the
about?
$120,000 refers to the maximum that we can have in there. You have to buy, this is under 53 and a half, you have to specify the amount that, the maximum that can be in there.
Okay, so we're in fiscal year.
We don't actually appropriating money into it.
No, but do we have any money in there now under this fiscal year 10? Do we have money in there now?
There's $668 left in that account right now.
So is that why the motions from previous councilors to demolish buildings like on Central Street are not down yet because we don't have the money for it?
I think we're utilizing different funds to do different, the Central Street is some litigation or some issues with enforcement that we're working through right now. Likewise, there's a couple others that Councilor Caulfield has brought forward, but it's not, At some point in time, it's going to be a case where we don't have the money. Typically, we put money, if you recall, we set up a system whereby when we sold property, we took the proceeds from that and put it into this account.
Yeah, that was my
But
next
the
question.
maximum is 120.
So instead of it going into the general fund, it would go back into
You can't,
this.
the sale of land can't go into the general fund anyways. It has to be,
It'll go
it has
in
to be
this.
appropriated into something else, and this is one place it can
This
be
is it.
appropriated.
Okay, good, thanks. Thank you.
Council Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Department of Public Works landfill that was initiated in '94, that has to continue. It's a must in order to maintain the cap on the landfill. So that's, you just can't get away from it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Roll call. Oh, I'm
Council-
sorry, Councilman Danza. I'm sorry, Mr. Clerk.
Just, what's the significance of a couple of these having maximum expenditure under maximum amounts? Is there any significance to that?
But by statute, you have to set the amount, maximum amount that can be.
Well, I can see the maximum amount that can be in the account. There's a couple of them that also have the word expenditure after it, and I don't know if there's any significance to it.
That's part of section E&a-half. It requires a maximum amount.
I think good though. I think that Councilor Donser is asking, on some of these it says maximum expenditure, and other ones it just says the maximum amount is 25. What's the significance of maximum
that's
expenditure?
correct.
If I could refer that to either the solicitor or the city auditor.
Sure. It was the way that these were created and sticking to the language of how they were originally created, and being consistent with it.
There should be just an amount that's a maximum amount that you can have. No, it shouldn't say maximum expenditure.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
But that's the way it was set up.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Councilor Martin,
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça,
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Milanazzo.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor
Yes.
Caulfield, Councilor Dakota,
Yes.
Councilor Elliott, 8 yeas, 1 absent.
In City Council vote, authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to apply for, accept, and expend a grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs in the maximum amount of $101,402 for the continued employment of staff as well as funding of various supplies, furnishings, and equipment for use by the Council on Aging. Now therefore be it voted that the city manager be, and he is hereby authorized in the name of the City of Lowell to apply for and accept and expend a grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs in the maximum amount of $101,402 for the continued employment of staff as well as funding of various supplies, furnishings, and equipment for use by the Council on Aging. Be it further voted that the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell be and is hereby authorized to execute any and all documents necessary in connection with said grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, including the expenditure thereof. Second reading by title. In City Council vote, authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to apply for, accept, and expend a grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs in the amount of $101,402 for the continued employment of staff, as well as funding of various supplies, furnishings, and equipment for use by the Council on Aging. It's the wish of the council. Motion to approve by Council Martin, second by Council Broderick. Roll call.
Councilor Martin,
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Milanazzo.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Dakota.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott, 8 yeas, 1 absent. You just have to make that public.
Correct. The next item is to make public an application, the Lowell Police Department for a Justice Assistance Grant. So let me just read a letter from Superintendent of Police Kenneth LaValle to City Manager Lynch. Dear City Manager Lynch, the Lowell Police Department was recently informed that the department is eligible for $127,575 under the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program for fiscal year 2010 local grant program. Prior to the submission of this application, the Lowell Police Department must ensure that it is made available for public review in order to allow community members an opportunity to comment. Therefore, we respectfully request that this application is reviewed during the City Council meeting held on Tuesday, June 8th, 2010. The Lowell Police Department will also post a link on the department's website allowing citizens to review the application and provide comment.
It's available in the clerk's office.
It is available, the clerk informed me, it is available in the clerk's office for review. So accept the communication placed on file by Council Martin, seconded by Councilman Donza. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed, to vote. Subcommittee reports. Do we have any subcommittee reports this evening? Hearing none. Petitions. We have a petition from Comcast. Conduit, request 254 feet of conduit on Prescott Street and 355 feet on Middlesex Street. Scheduled a hearing for June 22nd by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Dakota. All those in favor of sending to public hearing June 22nd signify by saying aye. Opposed to the vote. We have two claims, property damage, referred to the law department by Councilor Caulfield, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All those signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. On with our motions. First motion by Councilor Elliott, request that the City Council create a subcommittee to address health insurance costs. Second by Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion essentially speaks for itself. I know we have a lot of subcommittees. I know when you took over it, we scaled them down. We tried to reduce them. But given the magnitude of this issue, and probably the number of times that we have discussions on the floor of the council, I thought it was at least important enough to take a look at maybe setting up a separate subcommittee. It seems like it might be a long-term challenge, long-term problem to try to address if the council feels they just want to continue to send it to the finance subcommittee. I don't have any objection to that, but it just a thought. Maybe we should, we have subcommittees for so many other things, and given the impact on the budget and the operation of the city, I thought I would put a motion on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a good motion, but I think it could be referred to the Finance Subcommittee, where Councilor Elliott is the chairman, and I believe Councilor Broderick is on that. I don't know who the other member, Joe
Councilor
Mendoza?
Mendoza, right.
So I think that's the appropriate subcommittee to have a go to. And you can create another subcommittee if you like, Mr. Mayor, but
Again, I can see the importance, but at the same time, I know that the Finance Subcommittee, this certainly, in my opinion, would come under that jurisdiction. Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's a great motion, especially with everything that's going on. And we've heard from the schools tonight, and I think it's timely and it's important to refer to a subcommittee. I think it probably makes sense to send it to the Finance Subcommittee so that we deal with this ongoing issue. It will be ongoing, as Councilor Elliott stated, but also deal with it as it relates to the entire budget and keep things, it'll probably be an opportunity for us to trigger other elements of the budget and review as we move forward. But I think it's a good motion, and we have to, see what our options are and see how we can possibly play this out to establish some savings for the city. Thank you.
Councilor Elliott?
Well, we're on the motion just to set up a subcommittee, right? Not the next one.
Correct, that's right.
Right.
Unless you want to withdraw the motion and/or move in substitution that the health...
I don't have any problem, but I don't know if the next motion, clearly it's a home rule petition. I know it affects finance somehow. That's sort of one of the reasons why I said, well, do we need are there more health insurance issues, more health issues that are going to come before the council that need to be discussed? And maybe it didn't seem like there was anywhere else on the council subcommittee list that these would fit in. So if we just want to keep the finance, that's fine. I think it's a little bit more than finance, but it's up to the will of the council.
What's the wish of the council? Roll call on the motion? Roll call on the motion. To create a subcommittee for health insurance costs as opposed to sending health insurance issues or costs to the Finance Subcommittee. Roll call.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Mendoza?
Yes.
Councilor Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Milanazzo?
No.
Councilor Murphy?
No.
Councilor Broderick?
No.
Councilor Caulfield?
I really, it's got to go to some subcommittees. I say yes.
Councilor Dakota?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
6 yeas, 3 nays, it goes, refer to the mayor.
So we'll set up a new subcommittee for health insurance costs. I'm assuming that the members of the finance subcommittee will be the members of that committee, but that being said. Okay, next motion by Councilor Elliott. Request the City Council adopt a home rule petition giving municipalities full authority over plan design for health insurance coverage. Seconded by Councilor Mendonça. Councilor Elliott.
I know there's been a lot of discussion about this at the state level, and I think here's a perfect opportunity to send it to this subcommittee. I don't have to be. I just want to have a good dialogue. The manager has a lot more. A lot more information, I think, that he can present to the council on how we can approach this. And I don't even know what the home rule is, what it should say, what the direction of it is. I know there are bills pending. The Senate took up a bill and passed it, and it doesn't seem to fit the needs of the community. It's a step in the right direction. So just to have a dialogue from the city perspective, maybe we can be the first and get the ball rolling to say, this is really what we need. I'm sure most communities are saying that, but from our local perspective, maybe we can let our legislators know, maybe in a more formal fashion, how we can, what the best fit is for our community anyway, so.
Councilor Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There was something announced even in the Mass Municipal newsletter that was published today about, some compromises in the Senate version of the budget that needs to be worked out in the House. I supported the first motion. This one, I'm not sure. I think any sort of attempt at home rule on this issue may be a non-starter, but my suggestion would be we refer this matter to the newly established subcommittee to see what the best approach might be to help support the city's case. I understand the intent. I think we all want to get a better grip on health insurance costs. I think to some extent our hands have been tied, but I think there are some things in the works that are going to help us on this. So, so my suggestion is before we vote on a home rule petition, we give it to the subcommittee to see if there's another approach.
That's exactly what the intent was. It wasn't to vote on one, because I don't know what the home rule would be. I don't know anything about the language or what that would be. So that was essentially the intent. So.
Okay. The intent of the motion then would be to refer this issue to the Health Insurance Costs Subcommittee, newly formed, seconded by Councilor Mercier. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Next motion by Councilor Caulfield. City Council requests the city manager have National Grid remove the excess poles on Westchester Street. Second by Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Approximately maybe 3 to 3.5 years ago, the city installed a sidewalk on Westchester Street, and the poles were moved maybe 4 feet onto city land. Now those excess poles, there's nothing stopping the National Grid or utility to remove those poles, because the city can't widen the street until those poles are removed. So that's the gist of the motion.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Next motion by Councilor Caulfield. City Council requests the city manager have the inspectional services and the health inspectors inspect the property located at 120 to 122 Aiken Avenue. Second by Councilor Mercier. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have pictures here of this property, and the pictures are telling me it's a total disgrace. So I'll give them to you, Mr. Manager. Whether the owners of the property saw my motion and cleaned it up since then, I don't know. But I have the pictures, and it's on Aiken Avenue, and it's really a disgrace. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Next motion by Councilor Mercier. City Council requests the city manager to have the proper vote drawn to have a 60-day trial for a blind person crossing sign at the corner of Andover Street and Burnham Road. Second by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a young man that lives in the top of the street that I live on. He's visually impaired, legally blind, but he does see shadows and things. He goes across the street to the pharmacy quite often, and there is a crosswalk. I just like to put a sign on the corner of the street to alert cars, motorists, that this man does occasionally cross the street, and if they could kind of see that sign and slow down to allow this gentleman some time to get through to cross the street safely. That's the gist of that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed is a vote. Next motion by Council Mercia. City Council requests the city manager have the proper department place granite curbing on and make the property located at 126 to 128 Fremont Street. I believe we have someone ready to speak on this motion. First of all,
Frank Duggan, 126.
Could I have a second,
128.
please? Councilor Dakota seconds the motion. Mr. Duggan.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name's Frank Duggan. I've lived in Lowell almost all of my life, over 50 years. I bought the house on 126, 128 Fremont Street in 1982. And I've also lived on Miriam Lane for 22 years. I've paid over $142,000 in property taxes throughout these years. And I have a photo packet that I've shared with Reed and Mercier, as well as I have photos of the property, the curbing area particularly, that I had from 1984. Okay. And what has gone on for the last 7 years is erosion and water damage to my basement. And these past storms, I know they were a 100-year storm, the water has come down, followed the water pipe shut-off that's out at the end of my property, and followed it now into my basement. And continual erosion now has created, a health issue for in my home, a nuisance for my tenant because it's a duplex house, as well as a continued just water piling up all the time. I had gone on to see Ed Walsh many years ago, and I was on a list, and then I went a couple years ago and spoke to TJ, and he had his co-worker Ed Flynn look into it. They came over immediately and put dirt on it to try to have it duplicate what it used to be. Well, the dirt was gone in 24 hours because the slope and the sheen of the land just keeps on just taking it right down to 6th Street. So as I've lived there, I've just continued to watch cars do U-turns, further erode the sidewalk, the width of the sidewalk, and the only thing that would really accommodate and really just help things, a better health environment, as well as safety as children stumble in that crevice and as Halloween and so forth. So what I'm asking for is that the DPW or through, with the councilor's help, to go ahead and see about putting in a granite curb. I have done this for, almost 7 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Duggan. Councilor Rita Mercer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion reads, request the city manager have the proper department place granite curb and make right the city property in front of 126, 128 Fremont Street. It is my understanding that we have an ongoing problem at this address. 7 years ago, the water department, along with National Grid, ripped up the street in front of this address and never put it back, as the law states, to the same, if not better condition than it was. As you can see by the photos that I provided, the condition of the frontage of the property has deteriorated for lack of not following the law that was in place then. Moreover, the work that was performed all those years ago did not alleviate the water problem, but only magnified the situation. The new shutoff pipe only created a funnel and added to the flooding that occurred in this family's basement, and throwing dirt on the washout only allowed the washout to continue. Because of the contour and slope of the street and the improper flow of the street water due to a buried curbing, this basement is flooded, and they're at their wits' end and they need our help. I believe that they're tired of hearing, you're on the list. What list? And are they ever going to be off the list so they can finally say, we saw a wrong and we tried to right it, and we succeeded. I provided you, Mr. Mayor, and the manager and this council with photos of the blatant deteriorating condition. How does the front of this house compare with their neighbors? If you can see from the photo, this family paid taxes in the city at this house for 30 years. I ask you, should the front of this meticulously groomed house look like this? I think not. We owe it to this family to correct the situation and make it right. We need a granite curbing put back in place, or lift the one up that's already there, lift it up. We need the grass strip that was once there to be restored. Then maybe the water flow will be diverted to where it's supposed to go instead of in the family's basement. But Mr. Duggan did speak eloquently, and I really didn't need to say all that I did. I just reiterated what he said so well. Thank you very much. I know that we're in tough times, but this is 7 years, and that's not been put back to the condition that it should have been. Thank you.
Councilor Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. These pictures are very helpful. I mean, if you look, the whole rest of the street, doesn't have anything near this problem. It does certainly look like work was done there and not repaired properly. So I don't know what the proper action is. I mean, refer this matter to the manager for, take the proper action, report back to the council. But, from the pictures, it seems obvious that there's a problem unique to this property that doesn't affect the rest of the street. We should be able to do something about it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All those in favor of referring the motion to the city manager indicate by saying aye. Opposed, it's a vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next motion by Councilor Mendonça. City Council requests the city manager to work with the Pawtuckaville citizens and any other interested parties to complete the definition of the suburban waterfront zone outlined in the Pawtuckaville Master Plan. Second by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Mendonça.
Yes, this is actually from one of the action items in the Pawtuckaville Master Plan, and it was an area of contention between the neighbors and the department, our Division of Planning and Development at the time. But the existing zoning could be worse than having a defined suburban waterfront zone. So they want to move forward with this, and I bring it forward on their behalf so that this can be completed before we have people that want to develop in that area.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to speak on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, the vote. Next motion by Councilor Mendonça. City Council requests the city manager of the law department draw the proper vote to accept a gift on improvements to unpaved sidewalks at the corner of Charles Street and Chapel Street. Second by Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Mendonça.
Yes, there's actually a monument put up there by the Portuguese community at that corner. And at the very corner of that intersection, there is a paved curb cut for handicap accessibility to the sidewalk. But just beyond that, there's just grass. What they'd like to do is for the part that's immediately adjacent to the monument, pave it with paving stones, and they're willing to incur the cost, but it is a sidewalk area of the city, so they would need permission. And so they would, in essence, I believe, be a gift of labor and materials in order to pave that area. They were trying to describe to me and said that they would not disturb the actual granite curbing. It would just be from the curbing in. But if the motion passes, I can provide contact information to the manager and then can work out the details of what would need to be done for the proper vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that you know as well as I do that on Veterans Day, when we met with the Portuguese American veterans,
Memorial Day,
they
right.
surely let us know about their desire. And
Right.
one thing I have to say about the Portuguese people, when they say they're going to do something, they do it right. They pay for it. They don't ask for any favors, but they need our permission. And so I'd be honored to see that their wishes are applied to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a noble gesture on the part of the Portuguese community. I applaud them.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, it's a vote. Next motion by Councilor Martin. City Council requests the city manager have the proper department implement traffic calming measures at School Street and Shaw Street related to the planned neighborhood improvements. Second by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last Thursday evening, I attended the kind of the sidewalk neighborhood meeting, I guess, that was called essentially by the Lower Highlands Neighborhood Group and the Police Department, Deputy Ryan, Captain Kevin Sullivan, and as well as Officer Mike Marshall and Tong Fei were all present there. I think most people know there was a homicide there just a few days before, and the meeting, I think, fortuitously occurred on the same evening there was an arrest made, and I think the neighbors were grateful for the police response, and I think all four of the police officers that were present, I think, brought a sense of calm and commitment to to the neighborhood that certainly the neighbors very much appreciated. It was heartening to see that so many people attended. There were, by my estimate, at least 50 adults at the meeting, and half as many children too. And because there was an arrest, and I think because the police were so good at demonstrating their commitment to the neighborhood, most of the complaints were really not about crime, but about traffic. That Shaw Street has been recently repaved, and which, as often happens, people, speed, up and down the newly paved street. So I spoke that night, and I know the manager has plans to undertake initiatives in the Lower Highlands as part of a kind of an overall impact team approach. And we had various suggestions that night that this intersection at School and Shaw, perhaps would be a candidate for a four-way stop. Other neighbors, said, well, if you do that, that's really not the problem. The problem is further down Shaw Street. There should be more periodic stops on Shaw Street. But I think, the overwhelming sense was that, as part of this effort to undertake major improvements in the Highlands, traffic needs to be part of that. And at least in certain instances, a few years ago, we put traffic calming measures on Branch Street and Middlesex Street with the brick crosswalks, and other places in the neighborhood could use some of that attention too. So, my commitment to the residents that night was that I would bring this up to the council, and that we would urge the manager to include a review of, basic kind of public safety traffic calming measures as a part of the plan that's ultimately implemented in the Highlands. But I did want to compliment the police department for their work, both in making the arrest and in their work with the neighborhood at that meeting, which was exemplary.
Thank you, Council Martin. Anybody else on the motion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, it's a vote. Under unanswered, non-responsive motions, we have one by Councilor Elliott. City Council requests the city manager prepare a vote to support the national park in their opposition to the bladder dam at the Pawtucket Falls. Second by Councilor Mercier. Councilor Elliott.
Well, this is a follow-up on the motion that we discussed several weeks ago. And I don't know, Mayor, we did just go into executive session, not relative to this motion, but somewhat related. So did we want the solicitor to give us an explanation as to?
I would request the solicitor weigh in on the motion, or the timeliness of the motion.
Sure. I think, as I had indicated to at least some of the councilors going back a couple of weeks ago, that there are a couple of issues here. One, the national park hasn't yet filed any opposition. Obviously, they have made their feelings clear and public, but there is no actual opposition yet filed. Secondly, and more importantly, and more fundamentally, there is no application yet filed that the city can respond to. And so at this point, it would be premature for the city to be taking a position one way or another on opposition that hasn't yet been filed and an application that has not yet been filed. It'd be the recommendation of the law department. We'll continue to monitor it. It's anticipated that the application itself will be filed sometime at the beginning of July. And in fact, in recent filings, I believe a resident group had made filings with FERC in opposition to the application of Boot Hydro, and was informed by FERC that in fact the application, again, has not yet been filed, and that when that occurs, all parties, including the city, would then have 30 days to, during the public comment period, to make our position known.
Do we have any idea when that time period is, or when the proposed applications might be submitted? Just for the residents here, they see, MIPA meetings or scoping meetings being scheduled and notifications, as well as an intent to file an amendment to an existing license. So naturally, it looks like a duck and it walks like a duck, you think it's a duck. However, what you're saying, there's no official filing, but all indications are things are being led up to that point.
That's right, and FERC has instructed Enel, Boot Hydro, to make this filing. It's something that has been going on for quite some time. They are, in fact, beginning the process. Part of that process was to notify the national park. That's, in fact, what the national park is working on. Its initial application, but the formal application is not anticipated to be filed until sometime the very beginning of July.
Okay, so you've had discussions with the national park relative to the timing of either city position or any comments being submitted.
I have had discussions with the national park about the issue in general.
Okay. The residents here who've been meeting, we've been at the flood subcommittee meetings and the council meetings endless times, are here tonight. I don't know if we can suspend the rules to have them ask any questions, or if they have any concerns, because this will generate emails to you, Mr. Manager, and to me as well, which we're happy to answer. But if we can just have a little bit of an explanation to answer any concerns that they may have.
Do any of the residents want to be heard on the motion? I guess what you're being told is that, or we're being told, is that we're not going to prepare the vote to support the National Park Service position until an actual application has been filed. We actually approved this motion to prepare the vote, but we're being instructed, or at least told by the solicitor, that we should wait until something is actually before FERC and the National Park has actually taken a formal position. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the solicitor. Madam Solicitor, there is still, you have indicated, or you have met with representatives from the Lowell National Historical Park, and there is still a strong feeling, a strong opposition to this ladder dam, whatever you want to call it.
Right. I don't want to represent what the park is doing, but it is my understanding that the park has concerns, and they're moving forward with those concerns.
And when they apply that opposition to FERC, the council then will weigh in on that support.
When it becomes timely, then the vote will come before the council.
Okay. Yep. I just want to assure the residents who have been fighting this for a long period of time that not only do I support them, but the council does too.
Thank you, Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Mercia.
A motion to suspend the rules to allow this gentleman to
Motion by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Broderick, to suspend the rules in order to hear from the residents. All those in favor of the suspension, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed to vote. You have the microphone.
Hi, Tim Ignacio, Shirley Ave. I guess a lot of the concerns was flooding. Other parts to it is historic values. And I just wanted to, since we were talking about national parks and historic values, give my opinion about how much the city wants to put in regulations, conditions for historic homes in Lowell, okay? There's hundreds of homes in Lowell that you have to meet these criteria in order to do work to these properties. Hundreds of them. There's one dam that this city was founded on. And I just want to make it a point that you could never replace this structure or the values that have been created through the time of it. modern day systems are not a historic site. And this is. And I just want you guys to all know that this is important. And I was reading reports that went back 6 years ago when they did a study from the manager. I'm not sure if it was you or not, but they asked young people that were in their 20s, what do you care, what do you think about Lowell? The majority of them stated they like the historic integrity of it. And I can email you the file that the city has, but they were concerned about historic preservation. That was one thing that young people thought about. And I just wanted to recall that, and I could send it to you so you guys can review it, how important historic sites are. And this is a historic site, and I just wanted to make my comments heard. So thank you for suspending the rules, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'll save comments for the night that you're going to have the motion. My concern is for the next 30 days while they get their application in, you have 2 sessions in 30 days. You meet every other week, which means if they put the application in the day after your next meeting, then you only have like 2 or 3 weeks to actually get the motion together, get us all here again in the middle of the summer in July. So could you reword it and say, if it gets filed, you support national parks? Because for the next 30 days, it is the summer, it is July, it's going to be very difficult to get everyone together, get a motion together, vote on it. Meanwhile, they're got their application in and they have their ducks in a row. They're a very professional company, they know what they're doing, and I think the summer is the worst time for this to come up, for us to actually be out here and have a motion, and I'm just worried that we're going to miss our opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you.
Linda Ignacio, Shirley Ave. Tomorrow, the state is coming down to do an assessment, and they have a 10-day comment period. Now, it would be beneficial if the city did take a stand and made their comments known to the state tomorrow, for tomorrow.
Manager Lynch.
The city will be making comments by the 13th, which is the end of the MEPA scoping, and that then will trigger what type of the next step of review takes place at the state level. So we will be making comments along those lines, but it won't be to FERC. It will be to the MEPA process.
It will be to FERC, not to the state?
It will be to the state, not to FERC.
But if
because there's an issue before the state right now, and so we will be weighing in on that. There's nothing before FERC right now, so as the solicitor indicated, it would be premature to file something with FERC right now. The communication that will be sent to the state is our concern regarding, from my perspective, as city manager, will be our concern about the historic aspects of the dam, and that requires further assessment. And then the other issue is the level of the water in the river during flood events and at other times, and how that's maintained and what impact that has. What the state is doing through the MEPA process is trying to evaluate the issues that need further study, and we will make those issues very clear to the state.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Donna Hearn, and I live at 102 New York Street. I know it might sound a little preemptive about us trying to come here and ask you stuff like that, but we've already heard a lot of stuff in regard to FERC being sent applications or asking for certain tests and studies being done and so on and so forth, and we absolutely don't feel that way. I think we've been to court over another issue that I think the judge said, what took you so long? You know, we don't feel like we weren't thinking about this, or we weren't in a position to act on some of this, you know, because it's not preemptive to me to be ready to do something or ready to ask these questions, you know. It doesn't seem to me, at least I have gotten a lot of emails saying this, you know, there's like 30 days or to file this or something like that. Well, those days, like Debbie just said, they go by, you know. The next time we see you, it'll be 2 weeks, you know. And what is it going to be before it's, oh, too late, you know? And that's the way we feel about it. Things don't move, and everybody gets kind of lulled into feeling, oh, we'll just wait and wait and wait, and then nothing happens, you know? Or we find ourselves in that position, the judge says, well, what took you so long? You know, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Manager, my name is Mark Coleman, 58 Oakland Street, Lowell, Mass. To me, it seems that NL is trying to delay sending their application in so that way they wear people down. The sooner they submit the application, the sooner the city, National Park Service can oppose this thing. So the sooner the better. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes the city solicitor.
Right. The earliest that NL can actually submit an application is the beginning of July. Whether it actually gets submitted the very beginning of July remains to be seen. There may be other things that prevent them. With respect to, again, taking a position prior to the application being filed, prior to knowing what the application contains is the concern of the law department, and it's for those reasons that it's premature. As far as issues that were raised by the court in terms of, quote, what took you so long, what they're really looking at is it's a 30-year agreement, and towards the tail end of the, or not a 30-year agreement, but it's at least 30 years old, and so the questions of the court were violations of the agreement could have been brought a whole lot sooner. Those were addressed, and I think we all know in this room why 30 years ago the city wasn't even a party to the agreement at that point in time. But that was really the concern of that. As far as the issue of doing nothing, it's not the intent to do nothing. It's the intent to take up a matter when it's timely and appropriate to do so, and that would be the recommendation.
Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a friendly amendment to Councilor Elliott's motion. And the amendment to the motion would be if the Lowell National Historical Park files an application in opposition, when they do, will you take a vote here tonight to support that opposition?
We've actually already taken that vote.
Excuse me?
We've actually taken that vote.
This is a motion.
There's a vote that's been approved by this council to ask the law department to draw up the vote, and we're being told by the solicitor that vote will come forward when the application is filed.
I'm bringing an amendment to Councilor Elliott's motion. If the amendment fails, so be it. But I'm bringing an amendment forward. If the Lowell National Historical Park files an application in opposition, this council supports that application of opposition. Anyone second the amendment?
Second for discussion by Councilor Elliott. Councilor Elliott.
I think the concern is, well, I follow what you're saying. The motion is, I think we just want to attach some timing to it. I think what Councilor Caulfield means is when the national park files their opposition or their comments, that this report, this motion come forward at that time, correct?
Correct. I believe so, but again, I'll defer to the solicitor.
Any opposition that the national park files, they're in a different position from the city and from any other interested party, such as the residents who have been participating all along. The National Park has, in this type of a matter, special standing. So they would be potentially filing opposition, not to the actual application, but to the sort of pre-application, if you will. That's what they would be responding to at this point. They haven't yet done that, but that's what they initially would be responding to.
So the motion before us is that, again, for discussion, is that if the National Park Service files a letter of opposition, we would then have the vote brought forward from the law department to support that filing. Linda,
Well,
Chair recognizes.
Mr. Mayor, we could take a vote on that tonight, and it will-
Well, again, I don't know if it's going to hurt.
how are we gonna hurt it?
Well, I'm deferring to the law department. I'm deferring to the law department. Council Broderick.
Go, Cecil.
I was just going to say that the reason that the law department is suggesting that there be a delay is that I believe it potentially could hurt the position that the city may want to follow up on, and certainly the interest that the residents have in soliciting that type of support from the city. Again, filing opposition to something prior to having actually seen it, I think potentially could be problematic in terms of the weight that opposition is given by the regulatory branch that is going to be considering it as a public comment. And that's the reason that you're being given the advice that you're being given this evening.
Council Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's pretty clear that where the council support is, and the motion we voted on before was to prepare the vote. So I'm assuming the vote's prepared, and it's a matter of taking the actual vote is all that's left. If we meet every 2 weeks or twice a month and they file, we would certainly have, I suppose, if they were to try to rush it in and sneak it under the wire somehow when we have a month that only has, that has 5 weeks, and somehow we don't get, it's not on the agenda, we suspend the rules, bring the vote that's already prepared in and take a vote. But it sounds to me like if we vote to, if we take a vote that says if an opposition filed, we support it, it's the same thing as voting to support it right now, which is contrary to the advice we just got. So I'm concerned that we're basically doing, going against our council's advice. I understand the citizens, the neighbors' concern, and obviously we're going to make sure that doesn't happen, and the solicitor's going to be on top of this so that it's brought to our attention, because we're not going to be calling FERC, individually every day to find out when it's filed, but this is going to be brought to our attention. This is a high priority item. My concern is that taking the vote, the amended motion, is essentially the same as taking the original vote, which we've been advised not to take. So I guess my question through you, Mr. Mayor, is to the city solicitor, is that the case? If we vote the amended motion, is it not the same as voting the original motion? Or, it would, I hope I'm clear.
Yes, arguably, yes. That's...
Council Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want some clarification from the solicitor. What you're telling us, Madam Solicitor, once the Lowell National Park files an application of opposition, you are also going to indicate to FERC that the Lowell City Council is also part of that opposition. Tell me if that's yes or no.
No.
That's what I'm trying to bring across.
What I was trying to explain is that the opposition that the national park would be filing is not necessarily the opposition to the actual application that's going to be filed. The application that's going to be filed would be filed sometime in July. That's the application that we could respond to. As far as the opposition that the national park it's anticipated that they would be filing, it pertains to matters that we are not a party of, no one is a party to, other than the national park. As I indicated, there have been attempts already to file opposition at FERC, and the applicants have been notified that such filings are, at this point, premature, and that they won't be ripe until sometime in July when an actual application is filed. I don't know if that clarifies it. No. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, you have something.
No. Did Linda want to be recognized?
Linda Ignacio, Shirley Ave. Can we have the city oppose the draft proposal that Enel has submitted to FERC for the Bladder Dam?
The only issue with that is whether FERC would actually accept those types of filings at this time. In other words, any filings by the national park would be prior to the actual application. What FERC has done thus far, what they have notified one of the residents, and you may have seen that response from FERC, is just that, explaining that the actual application for which the public comment period can begin would not commence until sometime in the very beginning of July.
But if the city took a position of opposition for the Bladder Dam, then we could use that in when we're sending letters against the dam. So at least we can say the city voted in opposition of the Bladder Dam. It would give us some substance here. If the city took a vote in opposition, then I could use that when I'm writing my letters of opposition.
Right, agreed on that point. I guess the issue is if the city took a vote prior to the application.
But they've already submitted their draft proposal.
Right, which we're not invited, you're not invited really to comment on. It's only once the actual application is filed that public comment period begins. And so whether FERC would be accepting such a vote at that time prior to the public comment period would be a very big question, number one. Number two, I guess they've already indicated that they were not accepting comments at this time from the residents. So in order to, for anybody to be relying on opposition that the council may take, nothing would be done with that opposition until sometime again after July.
Right, and when we can comment, we will be prepared.
Right.
Tim Ignacio, Shirley Ave. I personally been dealing with this for almost 4 years now, okay? We've already gone through one set of city councils, now we have to inform another set of city councils. We are opposed to the Bladder Dam for flooding reasons and for historic reasons. You have to make a decision whether you guys want to preserve your historic structure in Lowell or totally deface it, okay? And without taking a vote, I don't know where any of you stand, okay? Nobody wanted to do a second on this except for Mr. Caulfield and Mr. Elliott, okay? What is wrong with knowing where your city councilors stand on a position that affects your historic values? You say, yes, I want my historic structure to stay intact the way it was, or we're okay with our historic structure getting defaced. Just give us an answer so that we can say, look it, our city is opposed to this modification and we want to keep the historic values this way so that we can send our letters in. And yes, they do go on file. You have to mail them in and they go in the folder for that project and they do get recognized, just not right now, but when they have time to review it, when that open period it is. They said we have to send them in through mail so they can go on file. That's what I got from Mo. He said, do not send them directly to me through email, send them in the mail so they can go in the file and they'll get looked at the appropriate time. I want to know where the city stands as far as this dam. Just tell us whether you're in favor of it or not, as far as keeping the historic values. You guys talk about being proactive. Well, here's your opportunity to do it. Why wait for everybody else? Let everybody know that you want to save your city. I don't know what's so hard about it. That's why you're here, to help your city, help your residents. You're not going to get any permit fees. This goes through a DCR. You're not even going to get money for permits from it. That's all I get to say.
Councilor Martin?
I really take exception to be lectured to that the city is not being supportive here or we're somehow waffling on a vote. I think what's been made abundantly clear to me by the city solicitor is our comments, when we make them to the regulatory agency, would have much more meaning and impact to that agency if we actually saw the proposal first and respected the rules of the regulatory agency. Every chance the council has had to take a vote in support of the residents' position on this issue, we've taken, and we have supported it. I think the council, I don't know a single councilor here who is going to take a vote in opposition to the position of the National Park Service. Our advice from the solicitor is that those votes will have more meaning and more impact if they're taken at the proper time. Now, if the residents want us to do that tonight, it's going to make a weaker case, in my view, but instead of pussyfooting around this anymore, I say, you know, let's call the roll on the vote, take the vote now. It's going to weaken our case, and it's going to make a few people happier here tonight, so we're not being lectured to about why we're not taking an action to help the neighborhood. I, for one, am going to plan to take every action I can to help the neighborhood. If the neighborhood wants that now, even though it's in the face of legal advice that it's going to weaken our case, then so be it. Let's take the vote.
We had a motion, it's been seconded for discussion. Councilor Martin, you're moving basically the question.
Move the question, yeah.
Vote on moving the question first. Roll call.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça?
Yes.
Councilor Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Milanazzo?
Yes.
Councilor Murphy?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Dakota?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Now on the original motion, as basically the amended motion by Council Caulfield, which states that if the National Park Service submits opposition to the bladder dam, the city council will go on record in opposition.
Record supporting the...
Right, right, supporting, right. But again, right, not enough said. Roll call.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça?
Yes.
Councilor Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Milanazzo?
No.
Councilor Murphy?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Dakota?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 nay, the motion passes.
Anything else to come before the regular meeting? Moving back to the regular meeting, we were on suspension to come before the council. Hearing none, motion to adjourn by Councilor Rita Mercia, second by Councilor Martin. We stand in adjournment. How about if we have a 5-minute recess before we go back to the budget hearing?